Yeah, got the picture. Yeah, that's a good one. Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your local experts on all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Listen in as they discuss the current state of the market, the latest trends, and have a little fun while doing it. We do want to say the opinions voiced on this podcast are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individuals. All right, y'all. We're back with another week of This Week in Real Estate, where we're just going to keep it real this week. Sorry, that was off the top.
So Trent told Missy, "No, I don't need you to give me one. I've got one. I'm gonna just play it off the top." And I'm like, I'm sitting here going, "Please let Missy do it next time."
Okay, that's fair.
Bless your heart.
We're gonna
You know that fell almost as hard as the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, come on now. Why we gotta do that? Bounce back here.
Yeah.
Bounce back here.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Well, we're here.
Bless our hearts.
Keep it real.
Let's keep it
Keeping
real.
it real.
Estate.
Yeah.
This Week in Real Estate.
For real?
Keeping it real.
For real.
For real. For real.
All right, let's do this. Hey, good morning, everybody. Jonathan Harmon with J. Harmon Home Team, powered by Keller Williams. My good buddy and my favorite lender and guy that was beating his computer just a few minutes ago. I tell it all, buddy.
Oh, boy.
I'm
keeping it real.
I'm keeping it real.
Real.
We'll talk more about that as the show goes on today, because it actually ties into some of our topics today.
I think if there was a week for Trent to kind of mail it in and say, let's just keep it real.
This is a good one.
It's
been a hell of a week, hasn't it?
This week, man. Let's keep it real.
And it's what day of the week? It's only Wednesday?
Yeah, it feels like Tuesday.
And we didn't even have a Monday.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. And it's already been a week. Woo. Yeah. Lacey told me, she goes, what's the best about long weekends? And I said, what? She goes, short weeks. And I'm like, yeah, except that everybody crams everything into that short week.
It all still has to happen.
That's right. So anyway, Bryan Nale, Primus Mortgage. Where's the whoa.
Yeah, he's right there. That guy.
Yep,
What a
that
guy.
Okay. Anyway, so we've got a live studio audience today as well. We've got Mackenzie and Missy in the live studio audience. Yeah. Well, that was weak. But anyway, that's okay. Almost as weak as this coffee that I made. You're not that guy.
Oh, yes.
All right. You ready to do some headlines?
Let's do some headlines.
Okay.
Back to you.
Back to me. All right, so I got headlines today, and we're going to talk a little bit about the numbers again. I think it's critical on this show that we keep up with the right now trends. And the one that I'm looking at right now is Rutherford County. That's pretty much always what I'm going to refer to on this show, since that's where we are, But just know that a lot of what happens in Rutherford County is indicative of what happens in the rest of the state, especially the overall trend lines of these kinds of things. We tend to follow Davidson to some extent, and basically everybody else follows Davidson and us, if that makes sense. Knoxville kind of has its own thing. Knox County does. Definitely Shelby has its own kind of thing going on out there, but especially Middle Tennessee, knowing what's happening in Rutherford, you're going to know what's happening in a lot of the other ones. All of that said, here's where we are, and this is just a fascinating thing that's happening. It was definitely predictable, and if you really paused 3 years ago, 4 years ago even, and thought through your basic economics class, this would have made a lot of sense. Okay, anybody that really thought through that could have predicted this. Essentially, we had artificially low interest rates that created an artificial amount of demand, right? So I remember from my macro classes, if the price is zero, then demand is infinite.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you have an interest rate that's 2.25, I got an interest rate on a 15-year at 1.875. Yeah. Thank you. That was you that did that. That is as close to zero as you'll ever get for mortgage money, right? So it would also stand to reason that at close to zero as you'll ever get, it's as close to infinite demand as you'll ever get. And we experienced that. Everything sold in hours.
People moved for trivial reasons
Or no reason, just because they wanted to.
Yeah, there was absolutely no, like, it was a no-brainer decision. If we want a house with a pool, let's go buy a house with a pool. If we want a house in this school district, let's move across town and get in that school district. If we want, if we want an extra bedroom, a theater room, a bonus room, like, or whatever. Like,
or if we're considering refinancing, let's just move instead.
Let's just move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just go buy another house. Let's get a bigger house. Let's
keep our payment the same and get 500 more square feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's I don't think you're seeing that now.
Well, and so what happened is in less than a year's time, we go from as close to free money as you could get to a normal, quote unquote, cost on that money. Well, what happened though is that piggybacked on top of the results of free money was that prices of homes skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So at the same time that the interest rate triples, that price of houses doubles. And so we hit this point where all of a sudden it goes from everything's free, infinite demand or close to it, to holy crap, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And what that did is that triggered a severe constriction in supply.
Yeah.
Because nobody that bought during those times can afford to sell. And we've said all of this before.
Right.
We're kind of putting really bringing it to a head here. And now we're seeing it. Okay.
It's really maybe, yeah.
So I've got right here, from April 2023. Let me go back to April of 2021 and include that. Okay. Let me try that again. There we go. So April of 2021 or 2020, we had 826 new listings. Okay. And then it dropped. And so right now we are at 624 new listings in the month of April. So we're a fourth down. So 25% down in new listings. Okay. But at the same time, even in a high interest rate market, this is the crazy part, right? Even in a market where we're 3 times as high in interest, our list price is up 3%.
Yeah.
It's up 3% from March to April. In 1 month, it's up 3%. When we have a fourth of the new listings that we did 3 years ago, our price is still climbing 3% a month.
So
3% a month.
It's amazing to me that we can have that kind of price appreciation and coupled with the interest rates that we have, and we still think it's as strong of a buyer's market as we've seen in years.
But here's the wild part, okay? So hold on to your hats for a second. Everything's off right now, okay? So, all right.
That makes sense. Let's keep it real.
Yeah. So we're actually up year over year, April to April, we're up 13% in price, okay? From March to April of this year, we went up 3% of that 13%.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But at the same time, everything's still negotiable. So we're in this seller's market, right? But nobody is selling because they can't. Yeah. Okay. But it's also got aspects of a buyer's market because we can get THDA, we can get FHA, we can negotiate closing costs, we can negotiate for the fridge to stay or the lawnmower or occupancy or like all of that stuff's on the table, but yet prices are still climbing at a rate significantly higher than the historical norm.
Well, it's almost like it's the new normal, maybe. I mean, because like when I think of a normal market, I think of a market where a seller might have 2 or 3 offers, and the one that they choose might have some seller concessions, where there will be an appraisal, and the appraisal will matter. There will be an inspection, and the results of the inspection will matter. And
which is we're going to get into that later.
Foreshadowing there.
Yeah.
So is it just like this is what a normal real estate market looks like? Our numbers are all just higher than what we've seen the last few years?
But normal appreciates at a steady, normal, predictable pace. And that's the part that's abnormal.
Well, but you said it last week. I mean, a steady pace annualized. There's going to be months where you have more appreciation than others.
But we haven't
because of
dropped.
seasonality.
We dropped in August of last year. Was
Yeah.
about the only time that we saw a little dip.
There was a dip from January to February too.
Not much.
Not much. But there was
It
a
might
little
have been
one.
flat. I don't have to pull that up.
Yeah.
But still, the point is, even a year over year, we're up 13%.
Yeah.
And it's because we have, at the same time that everything got more expensive, we have a severe constriction of inventory. It is a wonky market right now.
Because it's not just the people who bought those new houses that don't want to sell, or maybe they refinanced instead of bought the house that don't want to sell now. It's also that during that time frame, think about how many hedge funds and investors were buying houses, and they ain't selling. So those houses aren't coming back to the market
Ever.
So you've got a real storm of events that happened all around the same time that turned real estate even to more of a commodity than it had ever been before.
Well, and so you brought up the hedge funds. Let's talk about them for a second. So last year, maybe the year before, they started and they got approved entire new construction subdivisions for rental houses.
Yeah.
So picture an apartment complex, only it's a neighborhood of single family homes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so think about that. Think about the impact of that for a second. Okay. What is our market significantly made up of right now? Because nobody's listing their house, new construction.
Yeah.
So as a percentage of the available inventory, it's new construction. Well, what does new construction rely on? Labor and material, right? That's what drives the price as much as anything of new construction. Well, if those same hedge funds that were buying up the existing inventory have switched from buying up existing inventory to building an entire neighborhood,
Wow.
what are they also sucking up right now?
All that skill,
Labor
all that
and
talent.
material.
Yeah, all the people that can.
So what's it going to
build a
do
house.
to the existing homes?
Yeah.
It's going to drive the price of those up
Wow.
because the inputs are more expensive.
Yeah.
It is
Another
wild.
domino falls, man.
It is
Wow.
wild right now.
We saw hints of that, and even it wasn't even just hedge funds. It was national builders and even some local builders in that low rate environment who sat back and said, you know what, I can build a house, and I can finance it and just keep it on my and just carry a note on it and then rent it out instead of sell it. And so we saw shades of that and hints of that around 2022, where we started to see some new construction homes that were not being built to be sold, but built to be turned into rentals for the developer.
Now we're seeing entire developments.
Now we're seeing entire developments, entire neighborhoods.
So that 30-acre grandma's farm
yeah,
is now a rental neighborhood.
wow,
And again, I cannot underscore this enough. They will never be available to purchase.
never,
Never.
No, they won't. And you're so, and that's the kind of the, if this happens, what's the consequence? And you're right. That means that all the talent, because building a house is talent, man. Like
No
it's
doubt.
a skill, and now they can work over there. The hedge funds have the capital to pay them to get them to come work there instead of come work at, for any other builder. And
Well-
man, that's just going to drive up the cost of everything.
And if you're Brian's drywall installing
Yeah.
company, right?
Yeah.
And I have a custom home that I'm building, okay? And it's a one-off deal, right? Or you have AH4R that's building 300 homes in this neighborhood, okay? And you have the ability to have that contract, right?
Yeah.
Which one are you going to take? And which one you're going to discount it maybe
yeah.
a little bit,
Yeah.
or you're going to make them pay you a little bit of a premium
Yeah.
because now their drywall is now set.
Yeah, they don't have to figure it out home
And-
by home.
And you've got work lined up for the next 3 years.
Yeah,
And you look at me and you're like, I'm going to work for you for 2 weeks.
yeah. And then you'll maybe build another home in another month, and I can.
That's a
come do it.
no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a no-brainer.
yeah.
And so now you're no longer available for me to hire to hang drywall at my house.
That's a huge headline. I'd missed that one. That's big.
It's pretty crazy, man. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy. So speaking of crazy, crazy real estate image. That's what my note says here. So let's do this. Yes, it's real. My favorite part of the show every single week. Oh my goodness. It's a swim up bar.
It's a swim up.
Right beside the kitchen.
I want to know what's on the other side of that wall. Is that really a swim up bar where there's like a pool back there? Or is that just a hot tub?
I think it's just a hot tub, buddy.
That is wild.
In the middle of, yeah.
With chairs just chilling.
Yeah. I mean,
do you have to climb up? How do you get? Yeah.
To get into the market.
Yes.
Down.
Oh, no, y'all are totally missing this, okay? Did anybody ever go to Toots back when they hula hooped on the bar?
Oh, boy.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
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 That's-
This is the entertainment.
Okay.
That's a very small stage.
Quite risky. Quite risky.
And when they're done, they jump in the hot tub, and it's,
what was that move?
you got it. You saw it.
Do it one more
You
time.
recorded it.
That's
Okay.
this is one that's leaving me a little speechless.
I'm in. I
kinda
want
wanna
this.
see the other side. I'm curious if there's a
That's always the case. We need like a 360 view.
I have a
of all
question,
of
though.
these.
Is this mood lighting, or is this coming from that window?
That's coming from. the
Oh,
window.
man, I was hoping it was mood lighting. I was hoping it was stage
Got
lights.
some LED changeables.
I mean, I'm not sure that that's the kitchen because I mean that's not a kitchen sink. That's a wet bar sink. But then,
Okay.
but it looks like there's plates in the cabinets and bowls and
that's
stuff
a
in the cabinets
real
above
wet
it.
bar.
So like
Gives a whole new meaning to it.
that. I mean, tile all the way up. That's nice.
Well, splash guard.
You gotta have that.
Scar.
Carpet right on the other side of the tile there.
Yeah. Oh man,
I love it. I'm in.
Jonathan sold.
Lacey,
Contractor, contractor.
Lacey, if you're
We're in the
watching,
middle of
We're
a
doing
remodel.
this at the Main Street house. Price just went up.
Where else gonna be for real?
it's going to be lit.
That's incredible.
Yep, I'm in.
Okay.
All right.
Wet and wide. around the world.
Wet and wine around the world.
Wow.
We're going to do, what kind of wine are we going to do? We're going to do Boone's Farm, all flavors. It's going to be great.
Oh,
Okay,
that's incredible.
moving on to the market movers. Brian, this one's you, buddy.
Yeah, so I mean, really this is more of a technical week, I think, than anything. So,
So we're on Dead Week, right?
well, that was last week, so we're back from that. There's
But
not.
you said it was 10 days.
It was 11 days, but it started the week before. We
Oh,
were in
I
the
see.
middle of it last week.
Gotcha.
And so we're back this week. We had one of the Fed presidents spoke yesterday, and he was like, we're going to need to see many months of good inflation numbers before we even consider a rate cut. And so that the bond market reacted to that. And so what we're really watching this week is more of a technical thing. We're really watching the 10-year to see if it breaks 4.61 because that's kind of the resistance level.
Breaks down.
Through it, no, going on the way up.
Oh, okay.
And so yes, it started the day today. We were tracking that number, and it was like 4.59. So it's getting close to that 4.61. And if it breaks through that resistance, there's no real band where it slows down. So there's a lot of room for rates to run if the 10-year Treasury goes through that 4.61.
And mortgage rates are historically, they move in
move
conjunction with that.
In conjunction with that rate, with the 10-year Treasury. So as 10-year Treasury moves up, you would expect to see mortgage rates moving up as well to try to attract investors to buy mortgage-backed securities
Instead of
10-year Treasuries.
I see.
So we do have on Friday we have PCE, which is personal consumption expenditures. That's a key inflation report. So that's coming out on Friday. So we'll watch that and see if it slows things down. But right
Is
now,
that essentially the market basket of goods that they always refer to?
yeah, personal consumption, just like what are your groceries costing? What is your gas costing? There's those things that you need to get through life. Not the travel, not the luxury items, but just the personal consumption stuff. The stuff that you use, on a consumable basis, on a regular basis.
Yeah. I do want to go back real quick. I think I hinted at this last week, but the headline is important, and I don't know that it necessarily matters immediately to real estate, but if you're keeping track and keeping dibs of sorts on what's going on in our overall economy health, we have two really interesting numbers right now that I read about last week, and that one is that right now, as a country, as the whole, we have more home equity than we've ever had, right? Ever.
Yeah.
Okay. And we've talked about all of that, prices and all that kind of stuff. So we have more home equity, which home equity only matters when you sell. Okay. Ultimately.
Right.
But we have more home equity than we've ever had. Part two is we also have the second highest collective amount of credit card revolving debt that we've ever had as a country. We crossed the $1 trillion mark in consumer debt through credit cards, through revolving debt. So we have this one thing that indicates wealth, and we have this other thing and they're both high,
Yeah.
that indicates debt.
Yeah.
So it's like, so build wealth, detract from wealth, and it's weird.
It's interesting though, because think about, all right, so what's driving, who are the consumers, who are the Americans who have the credit card debt? How many of them are homeowners?
Well, and it is not necessarily proportional.
Right.
So equity looks like this, and it's a different socioeconomic band.
Yeah.
And the consumer debt, it is a different.
So you may not. So there could there be a bailout there for people to refinance their credit card debt with home equity loans and lines of credit? Maybe, but how many of those?
And that's the middle class.
That's the middle class there. But if all this consumer debt, credit card debt is, if a percentage of that is that debt is owed by people who don't have home equity, there's no way out. There's no way for them to move that off their balance
One
sheet.
of the numbers that was given is hypothetical number, $15,000 worth of credit card debt, okay, paying minimum payments on it at the normal rate now for normal credit score, all that kind of stuff, kind of normalized. It was a 25-year payout.
So just be so careful when you think about, do I need to take a vacation this summer? Do I need to?
But it's not slowing down. Nobody's thinking about that. No. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
And it is disproportionate.
Yeah.
Right? The debt, because the people that are using debt that also have the equity, for the most part, the numbers show that they're paying that credit card debt off each month.
Yeah. Right.
And not on the other side where they don't necessarily have the equity.
Yeah.
We want to talk about widening of the class gap.
Yeah. There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Well, and when you see PCE inflation high, that means that people, if wages aren't keeping up with that, that means that people to buy their toilet paper, to buy their groceries, they're financing that. They're financing their cost of living. And boy, that's a wild spot to be in. So market movers, definitely keep an eye on that, because where that could really show up too is, we've got all this stuff with Basel III, where banks' capital ratios are going to be potentially increased. So if banks have increased capital ratios, that means they have less money to lend. That means that they will start that means they're going to start charging more. They're going to start constricting what they can lend out to folks, and that means they're going to be hungry for deposits. So they'll be paying out strong interest rates for people who have money to park somewhere. That again would keep interest rates higher.
And they're going to raise rates first on the revolving debt because it's the easiest one to raise it on.
Yes. Yep.
So again, it widens that wealth gap.
Well, and I would look for them also to start charging more, or continue to charge more for some of your installment stuff, some stuff that does have a little bit of collateral. Because if you charge too much on revolving debt, eventually you'll just get to a spot where people start just filing bankruptcy and walking away from that debt, because that debt's not secured. But for someone to give up their car or whatever they've pledged for collateral, there's a little bit more consumer buy-in to keep that debt.
I would believe that, except that if you look at the model that forces usury laws, the reality of it is, if I'm charging 25% on a credit card, and I get that payment from 60% of my debtors, right,
you're doing all right.
I'm doing fine, and the other 40% bankrupt me or bankrupt themselves.
Yeah, you've made yours.
Yeah. And you just it's an actuary at that point. They run the numbers to say, okay, so what's that balance number?
Yeah.
If we lose this much debt, we still make a ton of money off of these people.
Yeah.
It's crazy, y'all. Pay attention.
Pay attention.
All right. Shiny penny. Pretty penny. All right, our shiny penny today. I'm gonna go through this one. My wife and myself are about to do a renovation on a historic home, and we've gathered quotes and bids and talked to lots of contractors, talked to all kinds of different folks, and here's my shiny penny. We know this, but we rediscovered it, and that is, pay attention to the mom and pop, just trying to make a living and do good work people. Seek them out.
Find them.
They will take better care of you. They will listen to you. They will probably give you better value, maybe not necessarily a better price, but definitely a better value.
Absolutely.
And sometimes a better price too.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? And then also kind of like dovetailing with that is when you deal with even if it's not a big name or it's still locally owned, but it's a big company and they have a huge amount of overhead, they advertise, they sponsor, they're on billboards, they're on the radio, they're on the TV, whatever. Understand that a significant portion of what you pays for those ads and billboards and things of that nature. And it's not necessarily that it's a bad product. It's just that what your dollar goes toward, it gets cut up more often, and therefore they have to have more of them.
More margin. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, more dollars from the sales price to hit their margin numbers.
Which means they need more of those dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they want to try to play it on volume, but to a certain point, they're going to have their price per foot or whatever their tangibles are that they're measuring. They have to charge more.
Mm-hmm.
And then the question is value. You got a guy down the line who he's going to work for the company as long as he's going to work for that company. It's not his company. Whereas if you're at that mom and pop shop, they're pretty invested in giving you a great experience.
Well, and in my particular case, I'm not going to name names necessarily, not till the product's done. Then I'm going to give all kinds of credo and shout out. But in this particular case, this was great granddaddy's shop.
Yeah.
It became granddaddy's shop. It became daddy's shop. That now is son's shop.
Yeah.
There's just something to be
history
said for that.
there, man.
Yeah.
There's history. Yeah.
So anyway, there's my shiny penny.
I've got a pro tip.
You do? Do it. Do it.
And we alluded to this earlier in the conversation, but man, when we sat down here and I was banging on the keyboard, there was a lot
you're
of
not
reasons.
happy. He goes, I'm fine. I was like, you're a liar.
There's lots of things going on. It's just it's a busy day and everything. But the pro tip is this: look, if you are thinking about selling your house, you need to hire a really good realtor, and you need to listen to what your realtor tells you, because I've had 3 in the last 24 hours, and Jonathan said he's had 2 that at some point for whatever reason. There was neglect in these homes, and when it gets time for inspection, these buyers don't feel like they have to buy the house. There's other houses that are out there. And so while we're still seeing the appreciation, we're still seeing some of those seller's market signs like multiple offers, buyers don't feel that absolute insane pressure that, I have to take this house because it's under contract, and I'm just thankful to be under contract.
And here's the other thing. I'm going to take it a step further. Yes, 100% agree with all that. The other thing is, and I do this too, if I'm going to spend X number of dollars, there's a scale on there, right? If something costs me this much, I have a certain amount of expectation, right? If something costs me this much, I have a different set of expectations for it.
Yeah.
And so if that house is going to cost me $1,200 a month and, whatever now, okay, well, I can afford to do some repairs along the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that house now costs me $2,200 a month, that's eating into that monthly budget. I have an expectation that I'm going to be able to move into that house, and it's going to be
and hit the street running.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, whether it's making it attractive on the front end for your pictures and your showings, that's important now. Making it also, attractive for the inspection. It's going to have a clean inspection, or you very likely might end up putting it back on the market. And so you don't try to cover things up. Don't try to put lipstick on a pig,
or ignore it.
If
you've ignored it for 15 years, it's time to not ignore it.
It's time to knock it out before you put it on the market, because the worst thing that can happen is you get your house under contract, and then a week into it, that it falls apart, because now you've gotten your plans are in motion for where you're going and what your next move is, and so you don't want that. So if you're
stigmatized.
Yeah.
I mean, every agent that pays attention is going to be like, oh, it was under contract. Why did it fall through?
Yeah, and now you have to answer that. And then eventually you're going to have to mitigate that problem, so might as well just go ahead and do it on the front end. So so listen to your realtors, folks. If your realtors are making recommendations for repairs or upgrades on your home, go ahead and do it. Mm-hmm. Have it ready.
Mm-hmm. Or be very comfortable with the fact that you're not going to get what you want.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I almost said that you're going to lose money. You're not going to lose money. The reality is, if you've owned that house for 3 years or more, you're going to make money.
You're going to make money.
You just might not make as much.
Yeah.
And so then it comes down to a choice, right? Do I want to maximize my sales price, and in order to do that, I have to invest a little bit before that, or do I want to not maximize my sales price but not have to deal with the work ahead? Either one is fine, but you need to consciously make that decision.
Yeah,
because you can't ignore everything and make maximum sales price.
Right.
It's not that market.
Well, and some of these things are going to weigh differently. Like if you got a $40,000 repair job in a crawl space,
That involves the M word.
that's going to need to be addressed.
That's very different than it needs a new roof.
Yeah,
Even.
yeah, it's just massively different. So be aware of these things.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody this morning, as a matter of fact, and one of the biggest things that people don't acknowledge enough is that a real estate professional is a fear manager. That's really what we do, right? And what are you afraid of? Well, as a seller, what are we afraid of? I'm afraid that somebody's going to come in and beat me up over my house because of the condition. I'm afraid I'm going to leave money on the table. I'm afraid that I don't have somewhere to go. Right? Yeah. These are all the fears that motivate and are underlying every action that a seller does. Okay, as a buyer, what are my fears? I'm afraid I'm going to buy a piece of crap house. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to afford it. I'm afraid that there's going to be things that I didn't expect that I'm going to have to pay. I'm afraid that somebody's going to take advantage of me. Right? Yeah. In both cases, people are afraid that somebody's going to get one over on them. Yeah. Right? Going to dupe them somehow. Yeah. And so as a seasoned agent, I go into that knowing, okay, most likely, what are you afraid of, right? And let's figure out not just how to like put those fears aside, because they're legitimate and you should have those fears, but how do we hedge against those fears the best we can?
Yeah.
So, okay, what else you got?
That's it.
I got a couple things. Cedar Glade's got some cool stuff going on. One that you're going to hear it here first. We have a barbecue cook-off coming up. It is Saturday, July 20th. We're going to charge $12 online, $15 at the door for you to munch on the barbecue and sample it. What we really would like is we're gonna have some teams of police officers, some teams of fire department. Can I say firemen? Fire people? Is that okay? Just making sure I have fire folk. There you go. And maybe even a team of EMTs and some of that kind of stuff. Some different public servants that are going to come in and compete on butt and sauce. So butt sauce.
I love it.
Yeah, butt and sauce. Yeah. What was that stuff you used as on your baby's Boudreaux's butt paste? You remember that?
What?
That stuff was awesome. Anyway, hopefully their barbecue sauce is not pink. Anyway, so that's July 20th. If you have an interest in competing, we're even inviting, if you've got like a nonprofit that wants to set up, it's going to be that, because the winner of the cook-off gets to put the money towards their chosen charity. Yeah. So whether that's an FOP type situation, or like if it's a nonprofit, they want to earn the money for their nonprofit, that's fine. That's what we're looking for. So if you have interest, give me a shout. You got anything else?
I don't think I do.
I'm going to throw one more.
Okay.
'Cause I'm very talkative
Throw
today.
it out there.
Yeah. This weekend, you need to be at Cedar Glade.
Yeah.
Like all weekend. Just bring a tent.
Just hang out.
Be here the whole time. Friday, we got Sam Rorix playing. Captain Sam is always a good time. Friday. Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Saturday, we've got Josie Edwards playing at 4:30.
Yeah.
And we've got Bradford Loomis at 7, which Bradford is incredible. Josie is incredible too. She was one of the winners of our first songwriter competition.
Right.
Incredible energy. She's fun. She's poppy, but not like bubblegum pop. Like she's great. You're gonna love her. Bradford is another cool guy. The story behind him is fantastic. So if you're familiar with the show We're Here from HBO, he was on the current season, I guess, right? And just the story behind him, Christian artist, and just uplifting, wonderful music, very good solid Americana type music,
Yeah.
with positive messages and things like that.
Love it.
Anyway, it's going to be great. But then Sunday, we've got Grady's birthday.
Grady Payne.
Everybody's best friend, Mr. Grady
Yeah.
Payne. He's getting old. Bless his heart.
He's a good old man.
He's a good old man. Yeah. And so we have his birthday, and Mr. Jeff Lecision will be playing music for
Love it.
that. So
That's
we
awesome.
got all kinds of music.
Yes.
And trivia at 5 o'clock, so stick around. Trent, you got anything?
I just want to thank, I got a couple people to thank. Mary Fugit with Gateway Title, joined the 1200 Club. Shout out to
I love Mary.
the angel
Great.
that she is. Also, KK Fitness Training, Casey Broach. She has been really awesome to work with and is doing some really cool things with her. It's called Faster Way, and the way she explained it makes this, fitness and weight loss and all the stuff that sometimes we complicate sound super simple. So she started her new round of 8 weeks, and just wanted to give her a shout out. They're doing some really cool stuff. So shouts to them, and of course Philip Byard with his continued support on the 1200 Club. So Music City Pawn Pros and Music City Hardscapes, he does amazing work, and still trying to get him in here. It'd be great to have him on to talk about some of the value his stuff brings to properties, because it's pretty impressive, all the stuff he's done. So shouts to the 1200 Club. We're still looking for new members. And, of course, thanks to both of y'all for y'all's continued support as well. Brian, appreciate you. Jonathan, thank you.
That's it. You got any events coming up, Missy?
No, not till the fall.
Not till fall. Got it.
We did
All right.
it, y'all.
That's
Did
it.
it.
Good
Keeping
show.
it real this week.
We kept it real.
It's real.
That was the realest of real.
All
All right, Trent, take us out of here.
We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to another episode of This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your go-to resource for all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We will see y'all on the next one.
Now for the nitty-gritty. Primis Mortgage Company is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC. Primis Mortgage NMLS number 1894879, BK number 1042893, ML number 1894879. As always, all loans are subject to credit approval and product guidelines. Equal housing lender.